Okay. Turn my sounds off. Oh, I don't need to do that. Have it right here. Hello, hello, hello. This is Splash, and I am Charlie Newton. I'll be your teaching artist today. I'm so glad that you decided to join us today for our art class. Today we are going to do some studies. We're going to do some sketches with pencil, and it's going to be a study for a duck painting that we will do in the future. And we'll probably end up doing this duck in watercolors, or we may even do it in oils. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But what I want to do is show you how to use your sketch pad. I want to show you how to make studies. I want to show you how to practice. And matter of fact, I think I'll just walk through everything so that you will know how to build up a finished work of art, so that you'll know how to condition your mind and your eyes and your hand to make the drawing and to make the painting. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to remind you of is I want to remind you about the contour drawings. Contour. So, and the reason why I want to remind you about the contour, I have my drawing pad here, and I have a picture here. The reason why I want to remind you of the contour drawing is so that you would know how to look at the picture that you're going to draw or the object. So in a contour drawing, we start, and I'm starting with the duck's tail, and you really focus, and I'm going at the speed of a true contour drawing. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the outline of this duck. And I'm moving my pencil with my eye. I've slowed my eye way down. So I'm drawing the contour though, only the contour. And I'm not looking at the paper. So what I'm actually doing now, I'm looking at each feather on this duck's back as far as the contour on this oval shape. And what this is doing is training my eyes how to not just look at something, but to see it, to see the little details. And you really have to slow your eye down. So my eye and my hand are moving at the same speed. I don't care what this looks like. I don't care if this don't look like the duck. I'm just trying to see the duck. So I've run off the page. So that's a contour drawing. And you would do the duck. You see, I was so focused that you see this duck head would fall off the paper. And we never fit things into the sheet of paper when we draw. We never fit things in. We let it fall out of the page. And when you become more advanced, you will actually design, and we're going to do that. You design the picture to make sure that it fits in the paper. Okay? So that's a contour drawing. So your pencil moves very slow. You don't look at the sheet of paper that you're drawing on. You do not look at the paper. And so you have to discipline yourself to not look. So this is only an exercise. Okay, so it's so hard to get people to not judge themselves, especially when there's nothing to judge. The next is the gesture drawing, Gesture. The gesture, and notice I'm going to hold my pencil the way we hold the drawing pencil, the thumb and the forefinger, and it's a quick drawing. So you let your eye run across the object really fast, and you drawing the guts and bones. You're drawing what is the object doing. So that's the gesture drawing. It's the gesture that brings life into your drawing, and you can see that this little sketch has life. Now, what I did automatically is because of my training, I changed the width and the pressure of the lines to help express what I saw visually and how it felt visually. And that's line variation. We don't do a lot of that because that's more for, older students. I would say teenagers, for in my mind, 16 and up. 16 to 96. You want to focus on the differences in the line. But it depends on the student. So I'm mixing the gesture and the contour when I'm looking. This teaches me how to see, okay? So that's another sketch, that's a study. Now, what I want you guys to, and gals, to get used to doing is using your sketch pad to make studies. I might want to focus just on the head of the duck. So I noticed the head is more of an oval shape. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a circle, but it's more of an egg shape, more of an oval. The beak is more like a triangle. Then you have the neck. So I'm just going to do some sketches of the head. I'm still holding my pencil. You want your pencil to be loose. You can do like this, but you notice I'm resting my hand on the paper. We write like this, but we don't draw like this. What happens is when I hold my pencil like I'm writing, everything gets stiff. My joints get stiff, my knuckles, the joints in my hand get stiff. I'm stiff here. My hand, I'm gripping. Everything's stiff. And unless I tell myself to really relax where where it's so soft and not stiff, my mind has to tell me to relax. But most of the time you forget to relax. And I'm going to have to turn on that air conditioner. We're having some hot days, aren't we? So this is just a study. And the good thing about studies is that you are training yourself what to look at and what to focus on in the drawing itself. Also, you can use studies to design your drawing or your painting. So we're doing studies for a painting. So what happens is, as I'm doing these studies, I'm becoming more familiar with the subject matter, which is a duck. And I can take my time to notice things now in this study. And again, this is only, this is not the finished work of art. But what you're doing with a study, especially if you want to do realism, and I suggest that all children, by the time you get to be 12, at least, I think you should start training yourself how to do realism, and then later on you abstract things. So a lot of people do abstracts because they can't paint and they cannot draw. They are what I call charlatans. You should be able to, an artist should be able to draw in any style you want to. It should be realistic or abstract, but you should make that choice, because sometimes your statements will be better when it's abstract, and sometimes it'll be better when it's realistic. But what I don't like about how art sometimes is taught in schools is sometimes kids are doing abstracts when they should be doing realism, or abstraction is enough. Now, when you're younger, it's okay. I'll say from 3 to about 11, it don't matter that much. But if you want to be an artist, a true artist, you should at least have the facility. You should be able to do realism if you want to. It should be a choice. That way, you open yourself up for more success. You have more opportunities when it comes to jobs, because there are so many jobs in art, and there's advertising, and there's commercial art, and there's marketing, and there's billboards, and there's magazine covers, and so, okay, that's enough. That's enough of that study. Let's do the head again. This time I'm going to just do the head larger. So notice I'm drawing the shape of the head first, the basic shape of the head. So I'm not even looking at what I've just done. Okay, that's over with. I've done that. I'm just practicing. I'm trying to figure out, what am I actually seeing? And the thing you have to do, you take this time to relax. If we can use this camera, I answer, as I'm drawing. Now, I have a tendency to hunch over. So if you're hunching over your table or desk, I want you to sit up straight and sort of just look down slightly. It would be better if your picture is more on an incline like this. But if it's not, you may be on a flat table. Try to relax your shoulders, your elbow, your wrist, knuckles. Relax all those joints, and you have to tell yourself to relax. Your mind, you have to remind yourself. I have to remind myself to relax all the time. Okay? So back to the overhead camera, my picture was here. My hand is here. If I move my hand over to this side to draw, I can still draw, but it's not comfortable, and I don't have as much control. If I move the picture here, it's closer to my hand, and I have more control. See, this is the area that I have most control of with my hand. If I move it over like this, now I'm putting tension on my shoulder. I'm looking at the picture in an awkward manner. So the value of drawing on a small sheet of paper and on a table is that you can move the sheet of paper around. Now, what I want to do now is, you see this part of the duck's head? I keep making the mistake of not giving the duck enough head height on the, you can call it the duck's forehead. It's going to be higher, about there. See, as I'm reminding myself of things, I can use that later. Because eventually we want to do a painting. We may do 2 paintings. There's an S curve in this beak. It curves around and comes down like that. There's a little space between where the point of this beak turns down, and this is for tearing flesh of the fish or whatever the duck is going to have for dinner. Then you have the nostrils. that's going to blow out water here on the beak. So you're looking at all these things, and I'm talking to you, but you would be talking to yourself. Now, where is this eye really? Where is this eye? So I'm going to try to measure the distance between this point of the beak to this eye. I'm going to look at it on this sheet of paper. And the point of this eye is a little lower than this beak. I can get one. I'll show you what I'm doing. Now I'm measuring the length of the eye. I'll do it with this sheet of paper. So the width of this eye, rather, is about right there. And I can get one more eye between this eye and where the beak starts. So with that in mind, I can sort of get the size of the eye. Now that changes everything. So now I know that this part of the beak, if I make the eye this big, I'm going to make the eye a little smaller, probably. If I make it smaller, I have to bring it closer. So all these things I'm going through now, automatically I'm going to remember most of this when I start with the actual painting. I think we'll do something about watercolors. You know, ducks are very soft and fluffy, and they are in the water. So by painting the picture with water, which is that what watercolors are, then maybe, maybe it will have a better feel to it. Now I'm going to see how many eyes, the width of the eyes to the back of the head. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 1/4. So this would be 1, that would be 2 and 1/4. So the head would run way off the page. I'll make a note. A sketch is kind of like an experiment. We're looking at this thing this animal, this fowl, this bird, very scientifically. Now I know I can see that this beak should come down to about there. And the way I did that is I triangulated the corner of the eye to the corner of the beak, and I'm looking at the angle of my pencil. I keep the same angle, so the beak is going to be about right here. So you see the difference? So instead of these lines being here, it should be lower. I'll erase so you can see the difference. So you can see what I'm doing. Now you can do this. I would do this if I would say drawing on a canvas. I would go through all this anyway. To be honest, I don't do a whole lot of studies. I work things out on the canvas, but in the beginning I did because you have to. Okay, I need to find I'm going to find it. My eraser, find an eraser. I don't have a lot of erasers laying around. So the difference was, instead of ending the beak right here, I'm going to end it right there. So all this changes. And you notice my hand, how my hand touched the paper? That's why this paper is so dirty, because I let my hand touch the paper. Luckily, this is a study. You wouldn't want your drawing to look like this. So by triangulating the big starts around in here somewhere, it's much bigger, much longer. There are other ways to enlarge this by using machines, but you will never learn how to draw. If you never learn how to draw, you will never learn how to express yourself with your art, because art can be so boring when the artist can't draw. You don't have to, you can be mechanical in a lot of times with commercial art, but the best commercial art tells a story. And you can only tell a story when you learn how to draw. And you can learn how to draw. If you like drawing, you can learn how to draw. It's kind of like, it's easier than math and more difficult than math. But it's an acquired skill. Okay, so then you might do another study. I might do a loose study down here. And I never did start. I had to let me know what time it is so I can. So this is I'll show you this type of sketch that I'm doing now on another sheet of paper. Now I'm going to do a study, and I haven't shown you guys how to do this, but it's how do you make something look like it's heavy or has weight or more realistic. It's a study in mass. How do you do that? So now I'm going to do a study in mass. I'm using the side of my pencil. I'm actually using a number B pencil. And I'm just going to, in my mind, I'm touching this duck's head. I'm imagining that I'm feeling the roundness of the duck's head, and I'm just shading, trying to show the mass. Now I'm touching the duck's neck. And the body. This is the mass. These are studies. So once you've done some studies, you have more ammunition in your quiver. I'm actually looking at the feathers. I'm touching the feathers in my mind. I'm using my imagination. I'll do another one, smaller one. Just trying to get a feel for this duck. After a while, you feel like you know the duck. The duck has a reflection in the water. I'm just going to indicate that a little bit here for fun. Okay? So we're making studies. You're using your sketch pad. I may have used up all the sheets in this sketch pad. So I'm going to get another one, or I'll just get a sheet of paper and keep drawing. So what you do when you use up all your sheets, buy another sketch pad. I know I had another one in here somewhere. I have so much stuff laying around. So now what I plan to do is just to do a sketch of this duck. And I think I'm going to I may tape the paper down. Well, I may have to move the paper, so I won't tape it down. Now, normally I would wash my hands, but you can also clean your hands with a kneaded eraser. But what I'm going to do is just put a sheet of paper tissue here. Now I'm going to draw the duck again. I'm going to use my B pencil. Clean the lead, the excess wood and stuff that's on the lead. And so first what I think I'll do a gesture to make sure that this duck fits on the paper. And I'll fix things later. That's going to be larger than I want it to be, so I'm going to make it smaller. Yeah. Okay. So now that's my gesture. Now I'm going to go back. Now I've drawn this duck in different ways several times. We've done that. I'm drawing very, very light. This paper is very slick. I remembered that there's one eye distance over to the this point of the beak, where the beak starts. I'm not doing any real detail yet. I remember that I keep making the head too small. I remember there's 2 1/4. 1, 2 1/4. So this head should be way back here. 1, 2. This head should end about right there. It don't make sense to me. But that's why. Now I'm going to triangulate where the bottom of this beak is. Because You know what? We tend to make the same mistakes over and over again. One thing I did not do, I did not measure the length of the beak or the width of the beak as opposed to the width of the head. So it's about right there, a little more than one eye. So the beak is going to come out to about right in here. Now, the measurements you take, you are not bound by them, because we are drawing on a two-dimensional flat plane. We're looking at a two-dimensional flat photograph. And so sometimes you have to exaggerate things to make it resemble 3 dimensions. So I made the beak a little longer, made the head a little shorter on purpose than my measurements. Now, at this stage, I could erase all these little lines in here, but I don't think I want to. Now, if I erase these little lines, but you would probably like it though, so I may erase those lines. Not all of them. And this is just for presentation purposes. I erased some of those lines. I did not erase all of them. Now I'm looking at the different shades or values of blue, but I'm not going to linger here. I'm just going to draw, keep drawing the thing. And don't get stuck. See how I'm using the point of my pencil to make that line more prominent or darker. That's line variation. But we never actually talked much about that, but we will later. Use whatever it takes. Make this top beak, the shadow underneath it a little darker. Make that line a little wider. And so what's happening is, as I'm making these little changes, the duck's head got a little bit larger, and still not large enough. I think I don't know if I said this, but I started to say, we tend to make the same mistakes over and over again. The way we see things, the way we think we see things, we tend to make the same mistakes. But if you know you make the same mistakes, you can look out for those mistakes. And when you make them, hopefully you can make some changes. So my duck is going to end up being large anyway. I paint on these huge canvases, so it's very difficult for me to draw small. I can start off trying to draw small, but it ended up large. And I'm still discovering some things. The lines I don't need, I'm just erasing. But remember, this is still a study. Okay? We're not drawing the duck that's going to be painted yet. We'll do that later in another class. But this is a more serious study. They have saved the studies from the sketch pads of people like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo for all of us to enjoy. And their studies, of course, are priceless. Drawing is the foundation of visual arts. I can never stick to a plan. If I make a plan, but the plan always informs me though. The plan helps me. But I'm always changing things. So this duck is going to be much larger than I wanted it to be. But that's okay, it's only a study. So this shadow behind the duck's head, it travels around the duck's neck. It sort of enhances the feel of the duck's neck, the shape of these shadows. And the feathers sort of describes the surface. So you can see the roundness of the duck's neck due to these shadows, how they are falling. You would think this would be something easy to do, but this duck is not easy to draw. At least it's not for me. And we get to the point where too, how much detail, are you trying to be a camera or an artist? And I'm trying to be an artist. You have to know what details to leave in and what details to leave out. And that's whether you're drawing something that's living or still life. What do you include and what's not important? You have to make those decisions for yourself. Everybody sees things differently. keep making changes here. Now I am not a wildlife painter, but there are wildlife painters who it is important to get as many details as possible. People like Audubon, and we have you can look at some of his art. Now, if I was painting, I'd rather be painting now, because I can make a lot of this go much faster with just a brush stroke. But now I have to draw all this stuff. But what I'm doing now is just drawing the shapes to try to simplify some of this so that I can draw it faster. So I'm drawing the shapes of these feathers. I'm drawing them backwards and forward. This huge feather here is important to me. It's something that I noticed that I like. So I'm going to use that as an anchor, a point of focus, if you will, and then I'll work backwards. You notice I didn't try to fit the duck into the paper on the page. If it runs off the page, it just runs off the page. Now I'm working backwards, feather by feather. How much time we have left, Iantha?
15 minutes.
Okay. I'm just drawing the feathers now, drawing what I see. I'm trying to draw what I see. And you see it's very sketchy, very gestural. Now, every artist would approach this in their own way. Just whatever works. That's how you do it. Just make it work. So with my art, my serious art now, it's not so realistic, but my art hints at realism, but I make up a lot. And that way I believe I can express myself more honestly. So this is where the duck is sitting on the water, and there's a reflection here. And the reflection is darker than the duck. So I'm just going to shade that. And then the water that the duck is sitting in is darker as well. So I drew this entire thing with a B pencil, which is good enough for what I'm doing, for my purposes today. There's a shadow where the duck sits on the water. I'm just going to make the background darker. And mimic some of these waves. I'm using the side of my pencil. There's a wave that curves down like that. It comes over like this, curving in, folding. Water seems to be folding into where the duck is swimming. There's something that comes down like that. Now that I have the background, what I can do, and I'm going to just keep this one pencil up, B, a number B, a letter B pencil, and go back and put some details. Here I'm just using the point of the pencil to get a very dark line. Sometimes I'll use the side of the pencil, like so. When I want soft lines, I'll do that. I'm looking at this as though I'm looking at a contour, as if I'm doing the contour. I'm looking very close now. I'm still going to leave out things. I'm trying to just enhance whatever's going to bring this duck forward on the picture plane. Is what I'm going to include. So there's different degrees of grays. I can go very dark here. The back of the neck, I can go very dark. So making sure these lines curve, remember, to get the roundness of the duck's neck. So there's a shadow. The duck's head is casting a shadow on its back. Shadow is here. Okay. So all this has been practice. Practice drawing the duck. I think when I paint this duck, I'm going to want the painting to be a lot looser than this drawing. I'm going to want it to flow. I'm going to want the painting to feel like a lake. And that's my goal. That don't mean I can do it, but that's my goal. And that's how we're going to approach the painting. Okay, so then put your name on it and your age. And once again, that's another class. That's a wrap. Splash Youth Arts Workshop. I'm Charlie Newton. Remember, until next time, arts is for everyone. Bye-bye.